Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to be walking that really strange line between fact and fiction. You know, that place where the truth is often way, way crazier than any story we could ever dream up.
Okay, so here's the challenge. I'm about to tell you three pretty incredible tales. Now, two of them are total myths, classic urban legends. But one of them is the real deal. It actually happened. So let's see if you can spot the truth. So, what have we got for you? First up, a soldier's desperate act of revenge that takes a seriously shocking turn. Then we have the story of a guy who survives something that seems just impossible. And finally, a truly bizarre escape plan that is fueled by, of all things, beer.
All right, for our first story, we're heading to a U.S. Army base over in Germany. We're talking about a young recruit, just 18 years old, Private Jonathan Overton. And let's just say military life was proving to be a lot harder than he ever thought it would be. You see, Overton was already having a tough time keeping up with the Army's super high standards. But his disciplinarian, a guy named Sergeant Harris, well, he seemed to make it his personal mission to just break this kid with constant public humiliation.
And I mean, listen to this stuff. This quote, it really tells you everything you need to know about the kind of abuse he was dealing with. This wasn't just tough training, this was personal. And it was pushing Overton to a really dark place. So the breaking point comes after 6 straight hours of wrestling this 100-pound floor polisher. Overton is completely exhausted. And that's when Sergeant Harris strolls up, dumps a whole bucket of dirty water on the floor he just perfected, and tells him to do it all over again. And right then, something inside Overton just snapped. He decided there was only one way out. He was going to take his own life. And his plan was to use the very machine that had become a symbol of his torment. He tied the cord around his neck and got ready to heave that heavy polisher right out the 5th floor window. But here's where the story takes an absolutely unbelievable twist. The plan, it didn't work. As the polisher fell, the cord pulled tight, but it didn't do what he expected. Why? Because Sergeant Harris's truck just happened to be parked directly underneath the window. It shortened the cord's drop by about 5 feet, just enough to save his life. The machine slammed into the truck, completely destroying it, and the impact of that crash crippled the sergeant for life. Overton survived and got the most accidental and brutal revenge you could ever imagine. I mean, it's almost the perfect story of poetic justice, isn't it? But really, could a suicide attempt go so horribly wrong, yet so perfectly right, to deliver that kind of specific, career-ending revenge? Keep that question in your back pocket. Okay, story number 2. This time, we're off to a huge construction site at London's Heathrow Airport. We're going to meet a worker named Andrew Jepson, who is about to have the worst day of his life. So it was Jepson's first day back on the job after being sick, and he was feeling kind of dizzy. On a crazy, noisy site like this one, he had no idea a massive steamroller was coming up right behind him. And to make things 1,000 times worse, the driver's jacket got caught in the machine's controls, so he couldn't stop it. And I mean, just look at this number. Let it sink in. 4 tons. That is 8,000 pounds. A machine that exists for one reason and one reason only, to squash things completely flat. So you'd think, scientifically, his body would have been squashed like a tube of toothpaste, right? His organs should have burst from the pressure. But what actually happened? Well, after being completely flattened from his feet all the way to his head, Andrew Jepson somehow just got up and immediately started yelling at the driver. And get this, the ground he was on wasn't soft mud or anything. It was compacted, hardcore gravel. It had zero give. His survival just seems to defy the laws of physics. So what do you think? Could this one possibly be true? All right, on to our final and maybe weirdest story of the day. For this, we meet Jan Bondra, a ski coach in the snowy mountains of Slovakia, who suddenly finds himself in a terrifying fight for his life. So Jan's driving back to his ski lodge. His car is full of beer, and he decides to pull over for a quick nap. But a few minutes turns into a few hours. And while he's sleeping, a silent avalanche hits and completely buries his car under 25 feet of snow. He is totally cut off from the outside world. So he's trapped. He's got limited oxygen, but he's got a car full of beer. And then he gets his wild idea. He's going to drink the beer and then use his own urine to melt a tunnel out of the snow. No joke, he literally planned to drink his way to freedom. Now, as wild as that sounds, there's actually a little bit of science to back it up. I mean, urine is stored at body temperature, so it's way warmer than ice, and the salt in it helps with the melting. Plus, beer is a diuretic, which means, it makes you have to go more often. But the big question is, could it really work?
Okay, so there you have it. 3 unbelievable stories. A vengeful suicide gone wrong, a man who couldn't be crushed, and an escape plan fueled by beer. Only one is true. It's time to separate the fact from the fiction. Let's circle back to Private Overton and that vengeful floor polisher. Was this story of perfect accidental revenge for real?
Nope, that story is completely false. It's a classic military urban legend, a piece of folklore that gets told and retold with slightly different details on bases all over the world, but there's no record of it ever actually happening.
All right then, how about Jan Bondra, our ski coach who supposedly drank and, well, urinated his way out of 25 feet of snow?
Yeah, that one's also false. Total nonsense, actually. It started out as an email forward, like a joke. And while there's a tiny bit of science there, if he actually drank 24 beers, he would have passed out and died from lack of oxygen long before he got anywhere close to freedom. So that only leaves Andrew Jepson, the guy who was run over from head to toe by a 4-ton steamroller. This one seems like the most unbelievable of them all. This can't possibly be true, can it?
Believe it or not, this story is 100% true. It was all over the British headlines back in 1998. Andrew Jepson was completely flattened by a steamroller, and he lived. His story just defied all belief and left medical experts completely stunned.
It just goes to show you, doesn't it? Sometimes the truth is so much stranger, so much more unbelievable than any myth we could cook up. And maybe that's what's so great about these urban legends. They exist in that fascinating gray area, right on the edge of what's possible, reminding us that sometimes the impossible actually happens.